history of like the Access to Justice Act and the Children's Act. In 2005, there was Family Proceedings Number 4 amendment. What that did is it opened up a little bit the family courts, but not much at all. And then in 2009, it was opened up quite a bit more, but still really not properly opened, in the sense that it's not possible to discuss the dreadful things that go on in the courts in a public environment, even without naming children or without actually naming other parties. So you can't identify even by through jigsaw identification. So clearly, we should be far more restrictive on having secret courts, full stop, whether they be the family courts or not. Now, I don't think anyone here thinks we should have more secrecy. Does anyone here think we should have more secrecy? No. Everyone agree we should have less secrecy. Yeah? Greater accountability. You probably will quite like seeing the video of me speaking in person. I don't intend repeating it all here, because you can. Everyone got access to the internet? Hopefully you'll be able to see this in a couple. I'll make sure it's a bit. Well, I'll put it on my webinar in the end. So if we go, there's a question of the jury. I think the jury will be useful for more decisions, because I think one of the threats, again, we've got to talk about rights to trial by jury. The threats to that are quite dangerous, because if we look at, there was a case in Birmingham, and everyone's followed it, Ed Bauer, who put up a banner at the Lib Dem conference protesting against the Lib Dems. Anyone followed this case? 3 people put up this banner, they were students. I disagree with them, of course, but they have a right to have their speech, freedom of speech, freedom to protest. They were arrested. He was imprisoned, in fact. I went to the bail hearing to get him out. That was in October last year. And then they were prosecuted for putting this banner up. And basically, the court, I got on the train to go to Birmingham to be their first defence witness, and whilst I was on the train, the prosecution pulled the case. Now, this was a case that no jury would have ever convicted. Full stop. There's no question about it. But they were, in fact, imprisoned by the magistrates. Now, I'm not massively critical of the magistrates, but it's the sort of danger of systems where somebody can talk to somebody. If you take Green's case, for instance, although I was trying to get the paperwork on Ross Green's case, and I haven't managed to get the paperwork as yet, the fact that he's been jailed for a year is quite significant. And Vicky Hay being jailed for 3 years, that's significant as well. And you wonder whether there are wheels in the background, wheels within wheels, sort of pressures on people in the background. And that's why actually we need a jury system. And I think the argument that there should be an extension to family proceedings is a good argument. However, actually family proceedings shouldn't be adversarial anyway, and the problem is they're adversarial. They should be properly inquisitorial with a case conference type structure, would be akin to a jury. So that deals with 2. Is everyone happy that that deals with 2 and 4? Everyone agree with that
It deals with it, but I'm sort of trying to make something happen.
Well, yes, but let me talk about how we. Shall we just go down all these points and then talk about what I'm trying to do and discuss it with other people?
To throw in solutions or possible ideas.
As you wish. It's just obviously there's a lot going on in some of these areas anyway. And now and again, the government look to say money like getting rid of juries. We just need to resist that.
What about independent monitoring in the family courts? So somebody goes in as an independent observer.
Well, it's not about openness, you see.
Yeah.
Because if you can't, what you need to be able to do is complain in retrospect about what's gone on, and for it to be reviewed in retrospect without being in a controlled environment. That's actually what we need.
But if, say, in the family court proceedings, there's only prosecutable counsel.
Yeah, well, at the moment, basically,
and
even
maybe if she's lucky or he's lucky, if it's the father, maybe have their solicitor in there, or a McKenzie friend who may or may not be allowed in court. There's nobody to report back on what actually happened.
Well, even actually, if you have a journalist there, that doesn't help if they can't report what happened.
Yes.
So this is why you need openness. Because without the judicial systems don't work properly without scrutiny. And that's one of the reasons I'm trying to get a parliamentary inquiry into the secret evidence, particularly expert evidence, in the family courts, is because if I can do that, then we can start going through the secrecy. Parliament can override the secrecy of the courts on an individual case-by-case basis. And if you had a parliamentary inquiry, for instance, we need an inquiry into all the cases where George Hibbert was involved. Because obviously, we had one psychologist who was disqualified as, like, Ruth Coppard was disqualified as a psychologist from saying things in the family court she shouldn't have done. George Hibbert is the subject of a speech I gave in the House of Commons on, I think, 22nd of December. It was the last parliamentary day of the Assembly. You can look it up on the internet and see what was said there. If you're producing a video of this, you might want to get an extract from the video on the internet of Parliament and have what I said there. That's covered by parliamentary privilege. So that sort of thing. But you see, if you then go on to item 3 and 5, they in a sense are the same thing. The problem you have is if people perjure themselves in secret, and if you have a constraint, which is you can't, unless the judge reports them to the police won't investigate. You've got a big problem, haven't you?
They get away with murder.
So they get away with complete nonsense. And, inventing dogs that don't exist, which is a case I had recently where somebody was thought to have hurt a dog that doesn't exist. So, and that was what the case was based on. So all of these things, you see, in a sense, under 5, with Ruth Coppard, there is a gradual movement in the right direction, because previously, prior to the 2009 family proceedings, I think it would have been pretty well impossible to have her done where she was for the family proceedings, because those opened it up a bit more. The difficulty is, because it's insufficiently open, it's hard to get people prosecuted. So it needs to be more open to achieve dealing with 5 and 3, because obviously it shouldn't be hearsay. It's the nonsense that goes on, the trivia that's used as evidence. One of the other problems is, I think, section 38 of the Children's Act. Section 38 of the Children's Act, which sets the threshold for an interim carer, says that there only needs to be reasonable grounds to believe that a child is at risk of significant harm. That's not really evidence, that's allegations.
Yes.
So in essence, people get an interim care order on the basis of allegations, not on the basis of evidence. Now, if it was only going to last, like a police protection order, 48 hours, whatever it may be, 72 hours, that'd be one thing, but it lasts for 6 months and it gets renewed. One of the difficulties you have with that is because it's based on reasonable grounds to believe, and because you then have to have change to get rid of it, the fact that there's still no evidence after 4 months doesn't get rid of an interim care order. So that's a problem there. Now, I think 6 is, true as well. The risk issue is also a big issue. Yes, you're right about that. It's the use of the crystal ball. It's not a reliable crystal ball.
No.
So what you have are a number of things which all, apart from the legal visits in prisons, they all come down to too much secrecy. And the fact that secret courts are unreliable courts. And much that the family courts have a particularly bad problem because it's developed over such a long period of time. It's actually the case in all the secret courts, because I've seen so many cases. I've got another one in my pocket here that I can't talk about. And this was a Queen's Bench one. But there's a lot of problems with the standard of evidence in secret courts, because it doesn't link into reality, that you have all the evidence separate to reality. So that's a really big issue. Now, trial by jury is a separate issue, legal visits is a separate issue. We can try and deal with that before I write a letter. It might be best just for you to give me the response from the prison on the music case, and to write a response to that and see where that is. As to how to change it, I think one of the biggest problems is understanding how our constitution works. Right? Because a lot of people get confused by all of this. And the way the constitution works is you've got 3 main entities. One is Parliament, another one is the government, and the third one is the judiciary. And then you have what's called the 4th estate, is the media and some general speeches and things like that. Now, the government are not allowed to criticise